Just to recap, we are covering the startup theme for the last 1.5 months on Unplug the Genius, and we have been talking about how do you build a new business, how do you analyze the market, build a new business or set the blueprint, build upon it with getting the right people together and building it for the right segment that you need to, and what are the X factors that you need to have as a founder on this journey to enable you. Do watch the later part of this video to see the X factors of a founder that we have covered in the live session last time. In this week, as we move forth, we will be covering the advanced topics of truly getting what your market is. What is the market that you're trying to address to? No matter which iteration of MVP that you're running, has it stayed the same or has it evolved over a period of time? For instance, I had a friend who had set out thinking that he is actually targeting a 20 billion market, because he was trying to target the restaurants of the world and they made a certain amount of revenue. But later on, he figured out that actually he's not targeting restaurants, he's targeting the marketing segment of the restaurants from 20 billion to only 2 billion. How do you handle that? How do you really ensure, and so that impacts your entire projection that you've made of your growth chart of what is the market that you are trying to cater to. And as we talked, though your 20 billion might become 2 billion because your assumptions were wrong, you might actually end up discovering another market also. So those are ways that you can balance, but it is always better that you look at things in a perspective that the assumptions are handled. So in this Friday Live, we will be diving deeper into the subjective aspects of your market size analysis and how do you build up on top of it. We will be talking about the total addressable market, the serviceable addressable market, which your business enables. Total addressable market is your entire go-to universe. What are all the companies, all the people in the world who can opt for your product or services, which you're planning to give. Serviceable addressable market is the entire segment that your current business model that you have put together can serve in the nearest possible future if it were to be scaled across all from day one. To serviceable obtainable market, in your current capacity, in your current resources, what is the immediate market that you can achieve in short term, say 6 months, 1 year, 2 years max. That is your serviceable operatable market. And there is a evangelist market also, or early evangelists. And that is the ones who are looking for a solution of what you are trying to bring about. That is the small section that we talked about earlier in Customer Define Your Business, that they are the ones who determine what your product or services and what is the word of mouth that's spreading about it. So who are these early evangelists whom you need on board? Now, these are different definitions. Our discussion will dive deeper into your thought process of what you analyze. You just Google, you'll find these definitions. You don't need to attend my 30-minute, 45-minute live session for that. What I bring forth is more of a practical approach based on what I have seen founders do as a business coach, based on what I keep doing as I try to build my business and where I miss out things, or I see someone missing out things, or just putting a framework and trying to get it worked out. Do not do that to yourself. Give yourself time to digest this, right? Because this is what will also decide your marketing strategies. If your market is huge, then the law of large numbers comes into picture, and you would want to optimize it in a manner that you can reach out to everyone possible. If your market is smaller, you might want to develop something niche, which is very much congenial or something that they are looking for but don't get easily. So it depends on what is your market size, what is the kind of market, and that is what we'll be diving deeper into to understand how do you change approach based on your market size. How do you understand if it's a huge market or a small market? What are the checks and balances you can put in place at a very broad level? Of course, from business to business, domain to domain, all these differ. And on top of that, how do you decide your unit economics?
Have you considered how much revenue you're making, but how much revenue you're making per unit? Are you selling an optimum amount of units also? This is an extension to unit economics, but this is also a very important parameter. And on top of that, what is your cost, total cost, and when you divide it by the number of units sold, so cost per unit. Does your cost cover the hidden costs, like the efforts that you might be putting in? Efforts that might be like, okay, there was a raw material that you needed to create a certain kind of product, and the raw material was shipped, but it was already worn out or not in proper condition, and you had to ship it back and get something new. Did you consider that cost? Did you consider those miscellaneous ones? So taking into account all the soft and hard costs together, the sunk cost, the variable cost, and the effort cost also. I'm emphasizing effort cost, which is a part of variable cost, because often parameters of it are ignored. There are parts of it that we tend to ignore. As I said, this is not a masterclass on what is unit economics. It is more about realizing the practical things that will come forth and just making you aware, hey, look out about this particular item when you're into that particular cycle. So that's what I intend to do with you. And this unit economics being right is crucial if you're making at least, say, 10 rupees for 100 rupee sale of one unit, then you're well placed to scale it up. If your unit economics is not sorted, your scaling up will fail. If you have assumptions there, it won't work. If your pricing is not proper, if you're not making enough revenue, see, it is one thing to cover your cost and it is one thing to make an income on top of that, right? So you should be able to make that income. What is your margin that you have? What is your revenue versus cost per unit? And what is the means by which you can analyze and increase the revenue? How can you make the perceived value of your product more for your customer? And how can you tone down your costs over a period of time? Getting that right is super important for scaling up. So ensure that you are aligned over there and then approach pricing. Now, when we talk of pricing, you can be pricey, you can be less pricey. You being someone who's cheaper doesn't really mean you'll be selling more, or you being pricey doesn't mean that you'll be selling less, but it needs to be honest.
Your customer will realize if you're putting an honest pricing or not. Say I'm buying from Prada. I am already ready to pay up more. But at the same time, do I feel the value for it comes? What is it that I value as a customer? Are you charging me for that instead of what you feel is the value? Maybe your value as Prada is that you have actually made those Kolhapuri chappals, which is very difficult to make all the way in the Western world, by learning it from the karigars in India or by exporting it from here also. Maybe your export cost is what has been the costliest part for you. But at the same time, is that the truth for the customer? Maybe they'll give in for the design. What is it that you are going to charge them on? So understanding these nuances of marketing and still keeping it honest for them. The pricing can be more, can be less, but it should be honest, because your customer, if they are paying through their noses, will definitely analyze as to what has really gone into pricing. If you are a premium brand, which every brand wants to be, no brand wants to be a commodity like a potato or an onion, and yes, there is commodity market for that, but they want to have the premium value, they want to have the USP, and that is what your customers will pay up for. What is your USP? For the customer, not for you. Not your resilience in building business, but how the customer looks at your business. And this is what we'll be deep diving into. But for that, I need you to come prepared after seeing what we did in the last live session. So a very quick recap of some key tenets from the live session that we did last Friday. And I'll see you on the other side. Have a lovely day ahead.